The first layer is the physical layer, and that's the cabling and the network card and getting that all correct. The second layer is the protocol. You got to install a protocol into your system and you got to configure it. And we'll talk about configuring in a moment. The third level is, what in the world is this computer supposed to do on the network? Well, a computer can do one of two things. It can either be a sharing device, in other words, it will be configured to share stuff, or it will be something that's configured to use stuff that other people share, or in some cases, it can do both. The most classic network, the one we see within Windows 2000 Professional, is what we call a peer-to-peer network. In a peer-to-peer network, all of the computers can either be a server or a client or both. So you have to go through a process to say, hey, I want this computer to be one that shares stuff, because you don't have to make a computer share stuff. Making a computer share stuff puts extra workload on it. So there's got to be some way to configure it. We'll also see that there are other types of networks other than just a basic Windows 2000 network. For example, Novell NetWare has what's known as a client-server network. In Novell NetWare, you have a special server box that usually sits in a closet somewhere. In most cases, it doesn't even have a monitor or a keyboard on it or anything, and it runs its own special operating system. I mean, you're not going to walk up to this and click on pretty icons or type dir. It's just simply not there. These server boxes are designed to do nothing but share resources, and as a result of that, they have very little overhead and they work very, very well. The problem with client-server networks is that you have to, as a client, you have to log into that network. You have to go, hey, server, I have a user account and this is my name and here's my password. So you would log in, which is no problem, unless you have 2 or 3 servers to log in, which is very common, and you have to go through this painful process of logging into multiple servers. Now, certainly Novell has gone beyond that and added tools that makes your life a lot easier, but while Novell still was set up in this, had to log into each server type scenario, Microsoft came up with something called what I call domain-based resource sharing. In other words, Microsoft said, hey, look, you're going to have a lot of servers on a network. Why don't we set it up so that there's like this one really important server, and he's like my primary log-on server. And if I can log into him, then he'll pass out the security information. So with one login, I can log into everything. So that's really where Novell, they finally caught up to Microsoft. It's where many people think Microsoft NT took over the networking world, was through this domain-based function. We still use that even in Windows 2000 today, and in fact it uses an even more powerful feature known as Active Directory, but that's way outside of A+. What's important for us to understand is that you will be tasked with the job of trying to tell a system that it will either share stuff or it won't share stuff, and you've got to be able to know how to do that. Fortunately, in all versions of Windows, you do it the exact same way. If you take a look on this screen, you see this button right here, File and Print Sharing? Just click on it. If you want this machine that you're sitting on to let other people access your files and folders, you check this. If you want to share your printer, you check this. I don't even have a printer on here, so I'm not going to check it. So the moment I hit OK here, Windows just loves to do a reboot.